Lesson 3.5 has students exploring the external parts of plants through a reading of the popular story Tops and Bottoms by Janet Stevens. After comparing various vegetables in the story to identify their roots, stem, and leaves, students then observe the first part of the popular celery stalk demonstration, in which a stalk of celery or a white carnation is placed in food-colored water and left overnight. For materials for this lesson, you will need the red and the blue food coloring, as well as some plastic cups from the kit. Beyond the kit's materials, you will also need a copy of the book Tops and Bottoms, and 1 or 2 stalks of celery or white carnations. If you don't have a copy of the book in your classroom, your school library most likely has one. And there are read-alouds available online on sites like Tumblebooks and YouTube. The celery stalk or the carnation can be picked up from a local grocery store. These carnations cost about 50 cents each from a local Kroger. And if you're using celery stalks instead, you'll just want to make sure that the leaves are still attached to the stalks for the best results. The lesson plan for Lesson 3.5 starts with a class discussion about the plants we eat. Once several fruits and vegetables have been identified, the discussion moves on to which parts of each plant do we eat. Students may be surprised to learn that some plants, like carrots, have edible roots. To really drive home this point, the teacher has students bring their science notebooks to the carpet to follow along in their science notebooks with the story Tops and Bottoms. So pausing while reading the story and giving students time to draw and label the various fruits and vegetables, as well as which parts of those plants do we eat. After finishing the story, the teacher focuses students' attention on the roots of the plant and how the roots and stem work together to absorb the water and carry it to the rest of the plant. The teacher then walks students through a demonstration by placing some samples of celery stalks or white carnations in a plastic cup, partially filled with food-colored water. If possible, use a second sample of the carnation in another plastic cup that's filled with the other color of water for comparison. So we've got one in the blue, we have one in the red, and since I happen to have extra carnations, I went ahead and added a third carnation just in normal water to kind of serve as a control group in case students were to observe all 3. Have students predict what they think will happen to these carnations and leave the plants or the celery in the food-colored water for students to observe over the following days. And I should add here that the carnations seen in this video right now, these are carnations that I actually have let soak in this food-colored water for about 30 to 32 hours already by this point. As you can see, the color is not at this point really pronounced. If we were to zoom in on the edges of the carnations, you may faintly start to notice a blue trim on this carnation's petals and a red trim on this carnation. But I'll be honest, I was a bit surprised at how little the color was saturated on the carnations today. I suspect that's because I maybe didn't add enough food coloring drops to the water samples. I added about 10 to 15 drops, which to me felt like enough. So I would recommend when you're performing this demonstration and you're setting it up, go ahead and use a generous amount of food coloring dye, because we really are hoping for our students to be able to make some pretty apparent observations from this.